Ukraine is increasingly striking Russian military targets on Russian territory. Because of this, Russians have suddenly been cured of their blindness. Now they're against the war, they know who started it, and they're even demanding it be ended.
Right now, I opened the internet, Instagram specifically, and saw that drones blew up the nickel plant in Yaroslavl. I live in the city, 40 kilometers from that plant. Well, let's say it's 50 kilometers. And quite honestly, I am really scared. What's happening in Russia right now is no joke anymore. When it was happening somewhere far away, you could still think, okay. But here, a huge plant was blown up just 50 kilometers away. And so the sudden realization that it's already here, somewhere right next to your home. It's really scary. And even when the emergency sirens go off, those loud warnings, we simply don't have any safe shelters anywhere in the city, just so you truly understand the situation. The city has a population of 45,000. So where are we supposed to run? We don't have basements, we don't have shelters. We basically have nothing at all. When a drone suddenly crashes into your apartment, it's all on you. That is, all the repair costs are your responsibility, and the government isn't obligated to pay for it. So you understand the point, right? The whole situation is absurd. I mean, you know who started the war, who stirred all this up. And if a drone hits your house, you have to deal with everything yourself. It's just, what is even happening? What's going on? They just destroyed everything. To hell with it. They destroyed the country. Ukraine is already gone. Now they've come for us. Guys, this is really scary. You know who I'm talking about. We're the ones who pay the price. Ordinary people. You're the one responsible. You're the one who started all this. What do we have to do with it? Why do ordinary people always have to suffer? That's all I have to say. I have nothing more to add. I don't know what else to say.
But there are people who seem like they've been in a coma for 4 years and, with childlike sincerity, are surprised, wondering why Ukrainian sanctions are hitting Russia.
Why are you bombing us? Today, actually, there was a shelter not far from my neighborhood. Why? Why are you doing this to us? What did we ever do to you? Enough already, stop it. It's just terrible. This morning at 4 a.m. was the worst ever. Enough, please just stop it. Stop bombing us right now. We can't take any more.
What do you think? How might Russia's future plans regarding its actions in this war be affected? Could our large-scale strikes on Moscow and the region, which we saw over the weekend, influence things going forward? And apparently they will become... So basically this will become a regular occurrence, and carefree Muscovites should get used to friendly drones flying over their heads. So what do you think? How do such Ukrainian operations affect the mood in Russia and the Kremlin's plans in this war? And by the way, perhaps Lukashenko, observing what is happening, is reassessing things. If he ever considers whether to enter the war, he is evaluating it differently. The consequences of such an entry.
That's a good question, but again, Lukashenko himself will not enter the war, only under some significant coercion or under, yes, I don't know, maybe with promises of vast unimaginable riches only then perhaps, but on his own I don't think he would dare. He understands perfectly well and is fully aware of how weak the Belarusian army is. Everyone can see that. With all these drones, with all these strikes. For now, the Russian authorities have chosen the old ostrich tactic, burying their heads in the sand, not talking about it, not even mentioning it in the news. On Sunday, this topic was given literally just a minute of airtime on the central TV channels, just a minute. Even on the evening program, Moscow, Kremlin, Putin, with that propagandist Zarubin, they didn't even discuss it, didn't discuss the attacks on Moscow at all. So for now, what's the objective? We pretend that nothing happened, strengthen our air defense, maybe even bring in more from other regions, conduct a review of mistakes so that this doesn't happen again in the future. And most likely, that's the approach they're taking. This was a one-off incident that the Ukrainians managed to pull off. They won't succeed in anything else. Everything will be fine, so no panic, let's not panic. And here it already depends on us, how well we've managed to find the key to Russian air defense. How much more protected our drones have become, flying at low altitudes, carrying more explosives. And then we'll see if we can really turn the tide. So, the worldview of ordinary Muscovites, what interests us, is the following. We are no longer interested in apartment buildings. We are not interested in the cars of these Muscovites or visitors to the capital. Burning them is not our concern. What matters to us are the large, significant industrial facilities that serve the military-industrial complex. What matters to us are the facilities that support the economy of the Russian Federation, the big ones like, I don't know, thermal power plants or that ring station. The ring system for pumping oil and oil products around Moscow stretches for 400 kilometers. These are the kinds of facilities we are interested in. Remember, Kremne L is an enterprise in the Kursk region that was simply destroyed by Ukrainian missiles leveled to the ground. It was engaged in the production of a large amount of microelectronics for Russian missiles, drones, and so on. And he has an older brother, an older company, it's called Micron, like Macron, only Micron. And it is located in the north of Moscow in the city of Zelenograd. And this is what interests us. That is, these are the bold, high-status, important objects that we want to hit. And the more such flights there are, the greater the effect on the war will be, the less production of these Russian missiles will be. Yes, completely. We can't eliminate their production entirely, but it will decrease by a certain percentage. And of course, one of the goals is a moral one. The moral aspect, because we saw that Muscovites were horrified by what happened, they don't understand why us. But at the same time, I saw how the other regions of the Russian Federation, especially the frontline border areas, they used to look at all these strikes with sarcasm and irony, but now Muscovites, you can feel what we are experiencing. So these strikes on Moscow, they very effectively divide Russian society. When something hits Belgorod, Bryansk or Kursk, Muscovites simply don't care. They couldn't care less about any of it. And when something hits Moscow, I'm sure the people in Belgorod also felt a certain schadenfreude and a good dose of irony. Well, now you, Muscovites, will feel it for yourselves. In other words, we need to reach a situation where the investors who are still there, the people with money, start leaving Moscow. In any direction, it doesn't matter. Macau, Singapore, I don't know, Istanbul, anywhere at all. We need for Moscow to start seeing a decline in the number of people. Fewer people on the streets, fewer people visiting restaurants. This will be noticeable. A certain emptiness. Even if the number of people drops by just 10%, I mean in those prime spots like Patriarch's Ponds, some upscale restaurants, that will already start to affect the general mindset, making people feel that the war is getting closer. We're not saying it will immediately bring the war to an end, but it's like one of the bricks in this wall.
Please clarify. Everything you've just described, in particular, are strikes. Are these strikes on high-profile targets in Moscow and the region, the emptying out of Moscow and so on, the immediate future that awaits the Russian capital? Or is this still just something you should be aiming for?
This is something to aim for, but even striving for it is not something that happens quickly. They wanted this kind of result as far back as 2 years ago, maybe at least a year ago, but it is what it is. Now technologies have appeared, our military and our drones have new capabilities, but again, none of this will happen all at once. In other words, you can't say that after the first attack, that's it, Moscow becomes empty. No, it may take perhaps a dozen strikes before something starts to break in the minds of the citizens, before they begin to condemn this war more publicly, before officials at various levels start talking about it openly. Not just somewhere under the covers with their wives, but already in the smoking rooms, in the offices, speaking out more loudly that the war is going in the wrong direction, that Moscow is suffering more. Of course, other regions will gloat, but again, this doesn't happen immediately. This takes time, and our military is currently working on it.
All right, and the last question, taking into account what we started with, what we discussed, do you still consider the threat of an offensive from Belarus to be unlikely at this point? So, in your opinion, on which fronts will Russia focus its efforts this summer and autumn? Do you expect any surprises, any unpleasant developments from Russia in the foreseeable future? Or will everything basically continue to develop as it is now?
Well, the highest priority remains unchanged, and that's the Donetsk region. From different directions, Kramatorsk, Sloviansk, and Kostiantynivka, these are the places they need to capture, so without these they can't imagine ending this war or signing any kind of truce. In the direction of Pokrovsk, which is occupied, and Myrnohrad, there are approximately 106,000 Russian servicemen stationed there. Until around February, there were almost 170,000 people there, approximately. So we're talking about the scale here Donetsk region remains their priority, all other directions. They are advancing there only because they have the opportunity, only because there are fewer Ukrainian servicemen and combat units in those areas. But
I remember that in previous interviews you said that, in principle, Russia's main objective this year would be Zaporizhia.
well, look, Zaporizhia still remains. For example, Stepnohirsk, they are advancing there. Stepnohirsk, Huliaipol, they are advancing there only because they have the opportunity. Opportunities in terms of manpower. They have 717,000 Russian servicemen, and they can deploy them in different directions. Sumy region has several hotspots. There are hotspots in Kharkiv region, burning points. Donetsk region is completely on fire. Kherson is more about recovery. They are randomly shelling the city of Kherson and Zaporizhia. They have people whom they would like to move closer to Zaporizhia and carry out chaotic shelling, the city of Zaporizhia, but they are not succeeding, and moreover, according to reports from our military, we are managing to drive them out from Zaporizhia, pushing them further away. In this way, we are making life safer for the residents of Zaporizhia. These, once again, chaotic shellings like they are doing with Kherson,